Discover the incredible journey of a homeless war hero. 5 life-changing secrets revealed in court. Jake sat huddled on the cold sidewalk, the world bustling around him, oblivious to the storm inside. At 42, he was once celebrated as a war hero, draped in honor and patriotism. Now, worn down and homeless, people walked past him without a glance, seeing only the tattered clothes and unkempt beard that masked the man he used to be. The warmth of camaraderie that once had friends slapping him on the back was replaced by the chilling indifference of strangers. But today felt different. He had been wrongfully accused of theft at the local shop, a claim that hung heavy in the air, clinging to his dignity like damp clothing. The familiar tingle of indignation rose within him, igniting something he thought long buried. Maybe this was the moment to reclaim a sliver of the respect stripped away by hardship and time. His heart raced, imagining the faces of onlookers when the truth would come crashing down. His mind drifted to Lily, his estranged daughter. In their worst moments, silence filled the gaps between them, each unspoken word sharp like glass. She was 20 now, a bright student, probably thriving in a world he had fallen out of. He could sense her frustration, the confusion of not having a father, as she carried the weight of their broken past. Yet, beneath the anger, Jake missed her. His heart ached at the thought of holding her tight, feeling her laughter vibrate against his chest as the trial approached. The emotional scars he'd fought from years of combat resurfaced like ghosts. Each judgmental glance from townsfolk reminded him of his failure. The whispers behind hands, the way children would hide behind their mothers, and the disdainful stares felt like daggers. He wanted to shout, "You do not know what I've survived." But silence settled on him, heavier than the memories of battle. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. Lily paced the courtroom, squeezing her palms into fists, unsure of what she should feel. The stories she'd heard painted her father in stark colors, a mixture of heroism drowned in horror. As she sat there, absorbing the testimonies, she started to peel away the layers of misunderstanding. The bright-eyed soldier, the man she wished she had known, now seemed buried beneath a heavy cloak of despair. Attention hung thick in the courtroom air as Jake testified about what he'd done in combat, shifting the narrative from warrior to victim. His voice cracked, carrying a weight that shook onlookers, forcing them to confront their preconceptions. Jake's 5 life-changing secrets: the kindness from a stranger, the child he saved, the bond he had forged with fellow soldiers emerged like rays of light through dark clouds. Clarity washed over Lily as whispers in the crowd shifted from judgment to reflection. The face of a broken man began to transform before her eyes. The real thief in the story wasn't Jake. It was the time that had been stolen from them both. As the gavel slammed down and gasps followed, they both faced their past, teetering on the edge of forgiveness. Would they step into the future together, or would the scars keep them apart? Jake stepped out of the courtroom, the heavy wooden doors thudding shut behind him. Outside, the sun blazed, a stark contrast to the shadows lurking in his heart. The world still moved with its usual speed. People rushed past, heads down, oblivious. But inside Jake, a tornado of fear and hope whirled together, leaving him breathless. He had shared his secrets, opened wounds that would never fully heal. The look on Lily's face hung in his mind. Was it pity? Or had she seen the man he used to be? The soldier who fought for more than medals and parades but for family and one glimmer of redemption? As he wandered aimlessly, trying to find his way through the bustling streets, the whispered judgments echoed in his ears. "He*s dangerous," they had said. "Look at his clothes." They looked at him and saw a man steeped in shame, not a hero stumbling through the wreckage of his life. Around him, the world bustled on, but Jake felt as if he were moving in slow motion. Bits of conversations floated by. Mothers hurried their children past him, shielding them from the homeless man on the corner. Jake's heart twisted. Didn't they understand he was a father too? A flicker of determination sparked within him. He had spoken in court. Maybe it was time to speak again, but this time to his daughter. They needed to bridge their chasm of silence. He pulled out his phone, fingers trembling as he navigated to her number. Just before he pressed dial, doubt crept in like a thief in the night. What if she hung up? What would he say? "Hey Lily, it's your dad. I'm still a mess, but I'm trying." Those words felt clumsy, heavy. "Just try," he whispered to himself, his voice barely a breath. He breathed in and dialed. The ringing felt like an eternity, each moment stretching as memories flooded his mind. Her laughter, her first steps, the day he had to leave. He'd worn his army uniform like armor, but what he hadn't realized was that it shielded him from feeling his own heart break. She picked up. "Hello?" A pause. "Dad?" Her voice was tentative, fragile as glass. He swallowed hard, the lump in his throat impossible to dislodge. "Lily, is it really you?" "Yeah, it's me." The words fell out like stones. "I know I've been gone, and I don't expect you to forgive me, but I want to try and see you if you want that too." Silence loomed on the other end. Jake's heart raced. Had she even considered it? "I don't know. This is all so sudden." "Yeah, I know. He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. "I want to be honest with you. About everything." Jake's breath came in shaky bursts. He caught a glimpse of a nearby park, kids running, adults laughing. The simple joy felt so foreign, so unreachable. He longed for it, the warmth of family, the bond of understanding. Lily's voice softened a bit. "I just need time. I don't even know who you are anymore." "I get that," he replied. "I want to show you. Just give me a chance." The line fell quiet. Could this actually be the first step towards healing? "I'll think about it," she said slowly, uncertainty dancing in her voice. "Okay," he replied, a faint glimmer of hope igniting within him. As he hung up, a bittersweet feeling washed over him. He felt exposed, yet strangely empowered. The possibility of a second chance flickered faintly, much like the distant sound of laughter from the park he couldn't yet reach. Jake took a deep breath, the air tasting slightly of sunlight and potential. Tomorrow he needed to visit the local shelter. Maybe they could help him find work again. Perhaps he could reshape this story, one small chapter at a time. But just as he turned to walk away, a figure caught his eye, one that made his heart leap and retreat all at once. Could it? Next chapter, everything could change. Jake's heart raced as he stepped closer, squinting against the bright sun to see better. The man standing across the street was dirty, disheveled, and holding a cardboard sign. His hair was long and tangled, but the resemblance was unmistakable. Jake's breath caught in his throat. "Dad?" The word felt foreign and tentative even in Jake's thoughts, as if he had conjured up a ghost rather than a man. It had to be a trick of the light. Yet there, underneath the grime and sorrow, was the familiar set of shoulders, the shared height, and more alarmingly, the same haunted look in his eyes. "Jake," the man said, eyes widening, disbelief coloring his voice. "Dad!" Jake cried, the sound surprising him. He felt like a child again, longing for comfort that had long been absent in their lives. He rushed forward, unsure of how to bridge the years that had stretched between them. "Is it really you?" his father asked, taking a step back, fear mingling with joy on his haggard face. "Yeah, it's me. I just left the court. I spoke to Lily," Jake managed, every word a mix of nervous energy and desperation. For a moment, silence hung in the air, heavy and fraught. Jake's father blinked, searching his son's face for answers. Then, like a dam bursting, he moved forward, wrapping his arms around Jake. It was awkward at first, both men unsure of how to navigate this uncharted territory. "I thought I'd lost you, too," Jake's father whispered, his voice cracking. "Not lost, just misplaced," Jake replied, his voice thick. He felt the tension in both their bodies begin to ease, unraveling some of the pain that had kept them apart. There was a deep-seated ache in his father's eyes, one that Jake recognized all too well. They had both fought battles, his in war, and his father's in life, navigating the labyrinth of addiction and despair. The bond of the past was a heavy chain, but at that moment, it felt like a flicker of a new beginning. "How did you end up here?" Jake asked, pulling back slightly to look into his father's eyes. "What happened?" His father's expression shifted. "Life happens, son. You know how it is. I thought I could find some peace after your mom, but I only found emptiness." "Mom?" Jake's heart sank like a stone. "You shouldn't have tried to handle that alone. I didn't know how to reach out." "I'm sorry, Jake. I should have been there for you," his father said, pain etched on his face. They stood, two broken men in the middle of bustling chaos, lost in their shared grief and guilt. A soft breeze swept through the street, carrying laughter from the park nearby, taunting them with what they had lost. "Maybe we can help each other," Jake suggested tentatively. "I'm trying to fix things with Lily. I want to be better. For her. For us." His father nodded slowly, uncertainty lining his features. "Do you think she'll take me back? After everything? She has been hurt, but I think she wants to understand." Jake's chest felt inexplicably lighter. Hope flickered like an ember as they stood there, 2 generations of pain and longing. A shattering realization bloomed within Jake. This moment, this reunion on the city street, was the catalyst for a new chapter in their lives. "Can you try?" he asked, his voice firm now. "We both need to find our way again." But just as his father opened his mouth to respond, a chilling siren pierced the air. They both turned as police cars pulled into the parking lot, the vibes of the serene day suddenly shifting. Fear rippled through Jake. "Dad, we need to go," he urged, instinct screaming. His father hesitated, eyes darting toward the sirens. "Jake, I think I can know." Jake grabbed his arm, urgency coursing through him. "We have to get out of here before they see you." In that moment, standing on the edge of something that felt strangely hopeful yet frightfully vulnerable, Jake felt the world around him teeter between chaos and possibility. Would they find a way to navigate this turmoil together, or would the past swallow them whole? Jake's mind raced as they started to move. There was more at stake now than just his own healing, and everything felt like it was about to change yet again. They dashed into an alley, leaving the chaos behind. But the question loomed, heavy in the air: how much longer could they run from the shadows of their lives? The narrow alley smelled of damp concrete and trash, a stark contrast to the sweetness of the park that lay just a few feet away. The sun cast fleeting shadows around them as they hurried deeper into the darkness, heartbeats thudding loudly in their chests. Jake could feel his father's tension. Their bodies pressed tightly together as they navigated the tight space. "What now?" Jake's father asked, looking over his shoulder, anxiety pinching his features. "We need to find a place to hide." "Just for a few minutes," Jake said, his instincts kicking in. The urgency in his voice felt foreign, yet familiar, as the roles of protector and protected reversed. They were both in desperate need of a lifeline, but where to find it? His father's eyes flickered with recognition of the urgency. "I'm sorry, Jake. I didn't intend to put you in danger." "It's not your fault," Jake replied, struggling to keep his voice steady. "You didn't choose this life." But now that we're together, he trailed off, the weight of his words hanging heavy. He found a dark corner between 2 dumpsters, pulling his father with him. "We can't let the past define us. Not anymore." Moments stretched into eternity as they crouched, the sirens echoing like ghosts in their ears. Jake felt the heat of his father's breath, their bodies pressed against the cold metal of the dumpsters. It was a paradox, this reunion and their hiding, a blend of hope and fear. "What have you been doing all these years, son?" his father asked, breaking the silence, a tremor in his voice. "I didn't know if you were alive or dead. I've been trying to survive. On my terms," Jake admitted, regret creeping into his tone. "Things haven't been easy at all. I lost Lily at one point, and I'm trying to win her back now. She deserves better." His father nodded, understanding echoing back through the years of silence. "And I want to make up for my mistakes. I need to find a way back to you." Jake's heart ached with the weight of his father's words. There was a raw honesty there, one he had missed for so long. It won't be easy, but we have to face our truths, Dad. All of them, together. A heavy silence fell between them, both men wrestling with the ghosts that haunted their pasts. Jake had built up walls to protect himself from hurt. Now, they crumbled at the thought of unearthing the truths they had buried deep. The sound of footsteps echoing down the alley made both of them stiffen. They strained to listen, fear tightening around their hearts. Peering around the corner, Jake saw a group of officers moving cautiously through the area. The sirens' wails faded, swallowed by the noise of the city moving on. "We need to stay quiet," Jake whispered urgently. "They're just doing their job." His father nodded, determination crossing his face. "I faced worse than this. We've got to take chances now." Fear wrestled against hope in Jake's chest. The moment felt pivotal, a line drawn between the past and a potential future. But as his father squeezed Jake's shoulder reassuringly, he couldn't shake the nagging question. What if they were caught? Just as they began to inch toward another exit, a sudden flash of light caught Jake's eye. A cameraman was on the street above, capturing the chaos. The bright lens seemed to fix on the alleyway, illuminating them both momentarily. "Dad, we have to go," Jake breathed, adrenaline surging anew. "Where to?" his father asked, eyes wide in dread. "Anywhere but here. We have to figure this out." Jake's mind buzzed with possibilities, the world offering opportunities behind every corner. As they slipped further into the dark, Jake's heart raced. Would they find solace or more shadows waiting for them? The noise of the world dulled behind him, leaving him with the undeniable sensation that change was looming, and perhaps this escape had ignited something neither of them could control. With the sirens fading and echoes of laughter distant, Jake felt the strength of his resolve grow. But with each step, a part of him wondered if this would mark their revival or another slip into oblivion. Would they be able to reclaim their lives, or were they destined to keep running from the ghosts of their past? The alley opened into a bustling street, the sounds of life crashing over them like waves. Jake glanced at his father, who appeared both exhilarated and terrified. This new world outside held so many unknowns, but it also brought lingering possibilities. "Stay close," Jake said, pulling his father along, scanning their surroundings. They needed to blend in, but the adrenaline rushing through Jake made him feel alive yet vulnerable. They stumbled into a coffee shop, dim and warm, the air laden with the aroma of fresh brew. It was a haven amidst the chaos. Jake felt his father brace against the doorframe, his eyes widening at the ordinary sights. People chatting, laughter echoing, a barista working seamlessly amidst the bustle. "They're so carefree," Jake's father murmured, almost to himself. "That could be us," Jake replied, injecting hope into his father's uncertain words. "Just for a moment, let us act like things are normal." He nodded toward a corner table, inviting his father to join him. As they settled into the mismatched chairs, Jake cast a glance around. Families gathered, couples leaned in to share secrets, and old friends embraced with laughter. It stung fiercely, a reminder of what they had lost. But it also whispered of what could be regained. "What'll it be?" Jake asked, attempting to lift the tension. His father looked down at the menu as though it were written in a foreign language. "I don't know, Jake. I haven't had a real meal in so long." Jake offered a small smile. The waiter approached, and Jake ordered 2 coffees and sandwiches, his heart racing. It felt like a small victory, a step toward reclaiming a form of normalcy. When their food arrived, the simple act of having a meal together seemed monumental. They shared bites, the flavors bringing memories crashing back, shared dinners, laughter-filled conversations, family gatherings. "Jake," his father began, his mind clearly running in circles, "what if we can't go back from this?" Jake paused, the question hanging in the air. "Then we keep moving forward. We have to, for Lily, for us. We have to believe it can get better." His father nodded solemnly, eyes reflecting years of pain and regret. "I wish I could take all the hurt away. I really do." Jake felt a lump rise in his throat. "We can't erase the past, Dad. but we can be better moving forward. Together. It wasn't the easy path, but it was a start that as they spoke. Jake's mind wandered to Lily. Would she forgive him for leaving? Did she understand the turmoil that had surrounded him? His thoughts drifted to visions of her smile, her laughter, and the longing to hold her again tightened his chest. Do you think she'll want to see me? His father asked, interrupting Jake's reverie. I don't know, but we can try. A moment of silence settled as they mulled over the possibilities. The sun began to set, casting golden hues over the shop, whispering promises of hope. But then, the front door swung open, and in walked a familiar face. Michael, a guy from Jake's past. Surprise flickered in the air as he scanned the crowd, and his gaze landed on Jake, jaw dropping in disbelief. Fear sparked in Jake's chest. This could be a cascade of unwanted memories, dragging them back into the shadows they wanted to escape. Stay cool, Jake whispered, instinctively leaning forward to shield his father from view. But Michael wasn't alone. Behind him stood a pair of officers, eyes narrowed and searching. Jake's heart raced, their fragile moment of warmth under threat. The flicker of a hope seemed to extinguish. What would happen now? Would they be cornered again, forced back into their past? Jake's breath hitched as uncertainty washed over him. Jake, his father urged softly, what do we do? And just like that, everything shifted again. The sirens of the alleyway blended into the chaos of the coffee shop as a chance encounter blurred the lines of safety and danger. In that instant, Jake remembered something crucial. They weren't just running from the past. Maybe this was their chance to confront it. But confronting what lay ahead, was that truly the answer? Would they find redemption in the truth? Or would the past suffocate their chance at a new beginning? Jake's heart pounded furiously as Michael's eyes bored into him. The noise of the coffee shop faded away, replaced by a feeling of suffocating dread. He could sense the impending storm, where every passing second seemed to stretch into eternity. Stay low, Jake whispered again, his voice hovering just above a breath. His father's expression twisted with confusion, worry creeping into every line on his face. Jake couldn't help but steal another glance at Michael, who now closed the distance, his eyes glimmering with recognition, and not a hint of kindness. Jake? Michael called out, the name spilling like poison from his lips. Is that really you? The officers behind Michael shifted, their attention drawn visibly to the commotion. Cold sweat pooled in Jake's palms. His father instinctively leaned closer, instinctively seeking safety in the shadows of his son's anxiety. Jake, we need to go, his father murmured, fear lacing his voice. No, Jake replied sharply, meeting his father's gaze. He felt the weight of their shared past, the choices they had made, the paths they had walked down. This was more than just a name calling out from behind. I need to handle this. Michael approached with an air of mock camaraderie, as memories swirled around them, nights of carelessness and laughter that now felt like a construct of another life. I never thought I'd see you again. You really thought you could just disappear? Jake clenched his fists, anger mixing with nerves, tightening the skin over his bones. I'm not here to reminisce, Michael. You think you can just walk away from everything? Michael's tone shifted, darkening like a thickening fog. You don't get to run away from responsibility. The officers began to move forward, their presence looming large like figures in a nightmare. A quick glance spoke volumes between Jake and his father. Could they really navigate this tightrope? Would they tumble back down into the abyss? Let us go, Jake pleaded, but he couldn't bring himself to retreat, because leaving meant surrendering to the very fears they were trying to escape. Michael chuckled. Oh, come on, Jake. Are you here to play house? You think getting a sandwich fixes everything? You think you're normal now? Every comment hit Jake like a fist. Rage spurred him forward, his voice steady, yet each word felt heavy as a stone. I'm here for my dad. We're not hiding anymore. Michael's eyes darted back to the officers, and suddenly, Jake felt the tension in the air shift. The officers were no longer just bystanders. They were interlopers in a battle for his life, their life. The weight of it felt unbearable. Is that it? Michael scoffed. Is that all you think you are? Just a victim? Jake's anger flared, but a flicker of fear whispered behind it, spilling into his voice. You don't know what we've been through. Then let us find out, shall we? Michael said, his sinister smile exposing the cracks in their once familiar bond. He stepped aside, subtly gesturing towards the officers. It was a gesture that screamed challenge, and Jake's blood ran cold. Jake, his father gasped, tremors of fear threading through him. They're going to take us back. We can't go back. Jake felt the panic rise, a suffocating bubble pushing at his chest. He remembered Lily's smiles, the way her laughter lit up the shadows. But this moment was darker, pulling him deeper into a chasm he thought he had escaped. Back? He echoed, fear and determination battling within him. I'm not going back, not again. Now, time slowed as one of the officers took a decisive step forward. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown. Jake, the officer called, voice clear and steady. We need to talk. Was this it? The end of their fragile escape? Or a lifeline back to the light? Jake gripped his father's shoulder, feeling the strength of their connection amidst the uncertainty. Would this confrontation reveal the truth they had been avoiding, or bind them in chains they thought they had escaped? As he stood at the precipice of choice, one question hung over him: is it ever too late to reclaim your future? Jake felt the air crackle with tension as the officer took another step forward. Fear tangled within him, but he struggled to remain resolute. This was it, the moment that could either shatter everything they had fought for or offer an unexpected chance for redemption. Would he stand strong, or would he collapse under the weight of his past? Jake, please, his father urged, his voice barely a whisper, quaking with both fear and desperation. We don't have to do this. We can just go. We can find another place. But Jake couldn't let it go. Not now. Not after everything. No, Dad. We can't run. Not again. It's time we faced this head-on. The officer's eyes widened slightly, taking in the raw intensity of the moment. Sir, we need to discuss the situation regarding your father. There's been a lot of I am not going back. Jake shouted suddenly, the words spilling from him like confessions he had buried for too long. You don't understand. He has done nothing wrong. We've survived this far on our own. To let people like you take him away again would be a betrayal. Michael's laughter rang through the coffee shop, echoing off the walls. That's rich, Jake. You've turned into a real hero, huh? Defending your dad from accountability? You just don't get it. You've both been running from your demons for too long. They're not just going to let you walk away. Each word was like a knife, slashing at the carefully built walls around Jake's heart. But he refused to back down. You think I don't know what I'm facing? I've spent my whole life battling monsters, and you're just another one. The officer stepped closer, lowering his voice. Jake, listen to me. We're not your enemies. We want to help. Help? You? What does help even mean to you? Jake snapped, rage swelling until it felt all-consuming. You want us to go back to the place where hope was as scarce as the air? Sometimes the most painful choice is the one that leads to freedom. The officer replied, unwavering but soft, holding Jake's gaze with an intensity that felt almost like understanding. We can't let you live in the past forever. This could be a chance for a new beginning, a way to reclaim everything you've lost. Jake shook his head, frustration coursing through him. New beginnings don't come with chains. They don't come with threats hanging over our heads. From behind Michael, the officers exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of concern and determination. This wasn't just a professional conflict. It was personal, layered with years of regret and fear. Michael, Jake called, steadying his voice, tell them the truth. Tell them we've been working to make things right. He felt his heart quicken, a flicker of hope igniting. Maybe there was a way to untangle the past that had ensnared them. Michael's cruel smile faltered just a moment. What? You want to air all your dirty laundry now? How dramatic. I want to stop hiding. I want us to be brave. Jake's voice cracked, raw and exposed, but his resolve only grew. His father stepped forward, placing a hand on Jake's shoulder, a gentle reminder of their bond. You're right, son. It's time we stopped living in fear. I'll face whatever comes together with you. We've come too far to turn back now. But just as it seemed their courage might open a door to freedom, the atmosphere shifted again. The officer took a deep breath, preparing to speak, and suddenly a loud crash broke through the tension. Chairs scraped, coffee spilled, and voices raised in alarm. What now? Jake's heartbeat raced, a fresh wave of panic chasing away the momentary hope. Everyone turned to face the entrance, chaos swirling around them like an out-of-control storm. Fear gripped Jake's chest once more. Would the past storm in again, disturbing everything they were trying to build? As they all turned, it became painfully clear. This moment was far from over. What would Jake and his father face next? And would they be strong enough to confront it all together? The chaos intensified, a whirlwind of startled faces and scattered papers. Jake's eyes darted to the entrance, where a figure loomed, silhouetted against the bright outside. It was a young woman, wild-eyed and breathless, clutching a crumpled envelope. She stumbled forward, her voice breaking through the shouts around her. "Jake, you have to see this." The desperation in her voice cut through the noise, pulling Jake back to reality. "What?" he yelled, trying to make sense of her urgency, heart thudding against his ribs like a drum. The crowd's anxiety seemed to seep into him, merging with his own fear. "Your father, there's something you need to know." She reached him, her hands trembling as she thrust the envelope towards him. His gaze shifted to Michael, who looked equally puzzled and wary. "Don't, Jake. It's probably just more lies." But Jake was already grabbing the envelope, ripping it open with a force that mirrored his racing heart. Inside, he found a single piece of paper, covered in formal letters and stamps that looked official. As he read, the words blurred together, but one stood out, a name he hadn't expected to see. A family he once knew, the Mahonies. They had been good people, friends from a life that felt like a different world. "Jake, no!" his father interjected, concern etched across his face. "Put it down. You don't want to dig up the past." But whatever weight had rested on Jake's heart started to lift as he continued to read. The letter was a court official's communicative outline, offering a chance for reconciliation with an elderly aunt, a distant relative he thought was long gone. "Are you serious?" His voice wavered as hope blossomed against a backdrop of anxiety. "She's alive? They're offering to help us?" Michael scoffed, disdain clear in his voice. "What do you think, some fairy tale rescue? This is just another trap. Don't fall for it, Jake." "No," the woman interjected, her voice shaking but firm. "This is real. I heard it from a friend at the courthouse. They're willing to provide you both with a means to start over. They want to help you." Jake felt the pressure of possibility in the air. It spiraled within him like a corkscrew unraveling a tightly wound knot. The officer, sensing the shift, stepped closer, his expression softening. "Jake, this could be a true turning point for you and your father. But you have to trust and take that step." But his father's eyes darkened, the weight of their past heavy upon them. "We've gotten by without them. We can keep going. We don't need to depend on anyone else. It'll only lead to heartbreak. Or it could lead to healing," Jake replied, the words coming out stronger than he felt. "For the first time in years, I could see a way out of this darkness. I won't lose it." From behind them, a gasping whisper rippled through the coffee shop. The patrons, who had been mere witnesses to the drama unfolding, began to murmur amongst themselves. Jake could feel the burden of countless eyes upon him. Could he stand firm in the face of fear and doubt? He turned back to the envelope, barely breathing. The offer glimmered in his mind like a distant light, drawing him in with its warmth if only he dared to reach it. But before he could process how to respond, a familiar voice boomed from across the cafe. "You can't think for a second that running back to family is going to fix everything. They'll turn their backs on you too." Jake's heart plummeted. The words hung in the air like a dark cloud. Michael stepped forward, his eyes blazing, making it clear he was ready to contest every hopeful notion swirling in Jake's mind as tension thickened again. Jake fought against the tide of confusion crashing over him. There was no escaping the crossroads he faced. Would he cling to the past or dare to step into an uncertain future? And as the noise swelled around him, pushing harder on his chest with every passing second, one thought emerged clearly. A choice lay before him, one that could change everything. What would Jake choose? And could he defy the very fears that sought to pull him back into the shadows where he once lived? Jake took a deep breath, feeling the anticipation of the crowd swelling around him. Each pair of eyes was a mirror reflecting his own doubts and dreams. The envelope tugged at his fingers, a lifeline or a weighted anchor, he couldn't yet tell which. As he looked from Michael's hard expression back to the girl who delivered the message, something inside him stirred. I need to know. The words felt steadier than he expected, almost like a vow. He met his father's gaze but saw only fear swirling in those familiar eyes. Maybe it's our chance to break free. Michael crossed his arms, shaking his head like a father refusing to give a child a toy. Jake, don't be naive. They'll take it all and leave us empty. You have to trust me. But the weight of Michael's disbelief didn't crush Jake's resolve. Instead, it ignited a flicker of defiance. The idea of family, however fraught, called to him stronger than fear. What if it's not a trap? What if it's a real opportunity? I deserve to find out. The murmurs in the cafe intensified, a chorus of opinions swirling like smoke. Some patrons nodded their heads in agreement, while others grimaced in worry. The girl stepped closer, her eyes full of an understanding that echoed his own vulnerabilities. You can't let fear dictate your choices, Jake. Sometimes the greatest risk is doing nothing. With those words, something inside him shifted. It was a tiny spark, but it was enough. As he held the envelope tightly in his hands, he stepped away from Michael and towards the door, ready to seek out what lay beyond the uncertainty. But he knew he couldn't leave his father behind. Dad, Jake said, his voice softening, I don't want to go without you. His father's expression faltered, the hardness in his face cracking just enough for doubt to seep in. Jake, it's too risky, then let us take the risk together. The silence stretched, thick and heavy. Jake could see it, the conflict within his father, the battle of wanting to protect and yearning to let go. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Michael stepped forward, fury tempered with something more, something vulnerable. What if they hurt you? What if they act like the rest of this world and toss you aside again? Jake swallowed hard. I can't live in that fear anymore. It's eating me alive. Even if it hurts, I need to try. Around them, others in the cafe began to shift, sensing the moment wasn't just about Jake and his father. It was about the hope for change, the chance for family, and the struggle to break free from the chains of the past. A young woman with a child at her side whispered to her friend about the importance of family and second chances. Fine, Michael sighed at last, the weight of indecision pressing into his voice. We'll go, but only to gather information. If they do anything at all that seems off, we're out. A wave of relief washed over Jake, lifting the anxiety that had coiled tightly in his chest. Thank you, Dad. The girl smiled softly, clutching her own hands. You're doing the right thing. But even as Jake felt the stirrings of hope, a shadow loomed at the back of his mind. What if this opportunity led to more heartache? What if the Mahonies were not what they seemed? As they stepped out into the cool afternoon air, he shivered slightly, each step toward the unknown echoing louder than the last. Jake, his father warned, a note of caution in his tone. Just remember, sometimes things aren't what they seem. Family can hurt too. The words felt like stones sinking in his heart. I know, but I have to believe there's still good out there. I have to. With faith gathering strength in his heart, they walked forward together, heading toward what could be a bright future or another painful disappointment. But before they reached their destination, a sudden roar of laughter caught their attention. A group of activists spilled out from a nearby building, shouting a message of hope. Join us for change. Together we can break these chains. Jake paused, suddenly captivated. The sight triggered something deep: longing, ambition, the desire to belong. Would this tide of camaraderie amplify their journey or drown them in new worries? It was another choice waiting to be made, another chance for confrontation. As they approached, Uncertainty hung in the air, a reminder that every choice led to new paths. What would happen when the call to action challenged everything he thought he knew about family and belonging? Would they be strong enough to claim their place in this swirling world? The world spun around Jake, a kaleidoscope of hope and anxiety, as he stood at the crossroads of monumental change. After everything he'd endured, standing on the precipice with his father no longer merely a relic of the past but a possibility for the future was almost too much to bear. "Do you feel that?" Jake asked his father, glancing sideways at him. There was a weight behind his words, an almost electric pulse in the air, as if the universe was daring them to step forward. This could be our moment. His father looked hesitant, but something flickered in his eyes. Hope? Recognition? Maybe something more like the seed of family still buried deep beneath layers of fear and regret. "Jake, I want to believe that," his father murmured, "but we've both seen how cruel life can be. Together, we're stronger," Jake responded, squeezing his father's arm. "We have a chance to heal. Let us take it." As the sound of laughter and chants filled the air around them, Jake felt a warmth pooling in his chest. He had stood alone for so long. Now, with his father by his side, it was different. They could confront the shadows together. The activists wore expressions of unmistakable unity, holding signs that read redemption is possible and family matters, words that shone brightly against Jake's fragmented past, lighting a path forward. With a deep breath, Jake led the way toward the gathering. Each step felt lighter. Maybe it was the dawning realization that they weren't merely running from something, they were running toward hope. "Let us join them," Jake urged, his heart swelling as he gestured toward the passionate crowd as they reached the outskirts. The air buzzed with energy. Jake felt an almost magnetic pull. "My name is Jake," he called out, surprising even himself. The movement paused, heads turning to face him. Enthusiasm morphed into anticipation. "I've been broken. I felt grief and despair, but I believe in the chance to turn it all around." He glanced at his father, whose eyes widened in disbelief but were filled with a tender pride. Jake pushed on, his words gaining momentum. "If we can find hope amidst our shadows, then so can you. We're here fighting for something greater. It's time for healing." The crowd erupted into applause, the noise igniting a warmth in Jake's chest that mirrored the sun breaking through the clouds overhead. His father stepped forward, the anguish of his past still flickering in his eyes, but shifting resolutely toward something more forgiving. "I've made mistakes and walked a dark path," he admitted, his voice shaky but powerful. "But I want my son to have the future I never found." Instead of shying away, laughter bubbled up from the crowd. People clapped, enveloping them in camaraderie. The weight of judgment that had loomed over them began to lift, revealing shimmering possibilities. His father looked elated, processing the fact that amidst their pain, they could still aspire to better days. Then, out of the crowd came a familiar face, Lily. The sight softened Jake's heart, causing his pulse to quicken. She looked radiant, eyes shimmering with a mix of emotions. Confusion, concern, perhaps even hope. "Dad?" she breathed, her voice quivering as she took a step forward. "Lily," he said, wishing desperately to close the distance, to bridge the heartbreaking years spent apart. "It's really me." With him beside his father, both men transformed from shards of their former selves to figures of determination, Jake found the courage to keep moving forward. "I want to be here for you. I've made mistakes, but I want to prove that I'm still fighting for you, for us." Tears welled in Lily's eyes, and for a moment, they were lost in each other's gaze. The world faded away, the noise, the fears, everything that had held them captive slipped behind like an old film reel shutting down. "I don't know how, but I'm willing to try," she finally whispered, stepping closer, vulnerability dripping from her words. It was as if something had shifted, a quiet understanding that perhaps grief was not their only legacy. They could build something new from these scattered pieces. "Together, we will find our way," Jake promised, his voice breaking with emotion. "This time I won't run." As they embraced, Jake's heart swelled with hope. Light pulsed around them, vibrant and unyielding. Their family's past tried to bind them, but in this moment, they were breaking the chains. That day marked a rebirth of sorts not just for Jake and his father, but for Lily too. They were not merely survivors. They were warriors determined to reclaim a future once lost. Side by side, they turned to face the crowd, those who stood ready to walk alongside them, and in that unity, Jake felt the possibility of the unimaginable. The sun began to set, shimmering across their faces like a warm embrace. "This is just the beginning," he called, laughter and cheers rising once again. "Let us keep moving together." And as the sun sank beneath the horizon, they stood rooted, arm in arm, no longer just tangled in the wreckage of their past but emerging from it, together. Today marked the first page of their new story, one where healing soared higher than any despair that had once haunted them. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending below. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now and be part of this incredible journey. Don't wait not even one more second to share.